Hi villaging friends, now that the houses are put away, it's time to start painting the platform black. I need to make sure that all of the green and all of the pink are completely covered so they won't bleed through on what I'm going to be painting the platform for its final form. There will be blue, white, gray, a little bit of burgundy, and some other things going on with this platform. So it's very important to make sure that the foam color doesn't bleed through. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to paint this platform black, and I have sped this up to the speed of Benny Hill. Now kids, if you don't know who Benny Hill is, Google it. So we're going to be moving through this very quickly because this took about an hour for me to paint. But what I'm doing is a brush-on method with Michael's black acrylic paint. I really enjoy this paint. You get really good coverage for the most part with it. Now, that's not to say I probably won't have to go back and do second coats or touch-ups in places. Ideally, when I am painting this, because I'm using so much, I'm going so heavy with it, I don't want to have to go back and do touch-ups. And if I have just the slightest little bleed through here or there, like just a slight little streak, the width of a hair, I'm actually not going to concern myself with it, because I will go very heavy with the base color underneath this. Now, what I'm painting in the back corner, this house is going to actually have a rock facade around it. And I'm looking forward to doing that. To be perfectly honest, I took a couple of Excedrin before I even started this process because I wanted to paint this entire platform in a single shot. Now, you may be wondering, why am I going black for a Christmas platform? You would do this for a Halloween platform. Well, the truth is the paints that I use, primarily the Michael's acrylic paints for platform building, are really great, with some exception. I've done a couple of test pieces with both the green and the purple or pink foam, and you have to do like sometimes 3 to 4 coats when dealing with light colors. If you've seen any of my other previous videos where I have reimagined Christmas items, either by Limax or Department 56, I have this little iceberg statue that I put them on. When I was painting it, it actually took about 3 coats of blue as the base, just to make sure the pink wasn't bleeding through. That was actually made out of spare parts that I had. Now I'm just continuing to work around the foam, and I'm going to make sure I can get all the little crevices that I possibly can with this brush. Now this is a very fluffy brush that I'm using, and it does a great job getting into all the finer nooks and crannies of this foam. And this foam is far from perfect when it comes to smooth edges or not having holes or anything. All of the pink foam is recycled foam from my last year's platform that I just really wasn't all that happy with. It was a very rushed job, and I just wanted to get it done last season. So there is some poor choices that were made with that foam, but foam could be kind of expensive. So I wanted to make sure I could reuse as much as I possibly could on this year's platform. I believe the total time for me to paint this platform black was right at 55 minutes. And that was pretty much non-stop painting. Now, I'm not going to worry about the very back side. I am, however, going to worry about the left and right sides because that's going to be visible from the front of the platform when you're reviewing it. My platform sits underneath my television in my living room, so, it's a nice fun focal point for myself and my guests that I have over. So, nothing says Merry Christmas like pink or green XPS foam. Now I'm pretty much at the halfway point of getting this platform painted. The other section actually isn't going to be too bad, I don't believe. But, I'm making quick progress. I do have a couple of runs in a couple of places, and to be perfectly honest, that's okay. I can come back with a brush and clean them up. I could sand them off, or I could just leave them and let it be a little added texture under the snow that, will eventually be there. That's kind of the beauty of the base coat of the platform. It doesn't have to be the prettiest paint job in the world. It just needs to cover the color of the foam. I decided this year to do this platform a little bit differently than I've done other platforms. Normally, I would get the foam in, I would cut out the holes for the buildings, I would go ahead and sink them, prepare everything for electrical, and then pull everything back out and do the painting. But this year, we're going to strike that and reverse it. So, want to make sure everything is fully painted. We're going to do the texturing. Then I will pull the buildings back out and put them back into their relative positions. Mark where everything's going to be, either by the buildings itself or the templates that I originally created when I first started building the platform. Then I'll go around and cut out the channels and everything to sink the buildings. Now, the buildings are only going to be sunk less than 1/4 of an inch into the foam, just to kind of make them somewhat level or flush with it. Then I'll tie in all of the architectural detail that I worked on in the previous section. Now that's going to be fun to paint too as well. So the section I'm working on right now, this is going to be where a snowball fight is going to be happening. And of course, we have the brewery overlooking the township on the very top of this. Down at the township below, I had originally envisioned doing like a cobblestone road, but I really do like using stone elements into my builds. So the wall behind the township that leads up to the next tier, that's going to have rock on it. Down below, I might do a loose gravel. I'm still kind of on the fence about it, but we'll see what happens. I sometimes get far too many different ideas for things to do with these villages, so we're just going to keep rolling forward and see what happens. I may switch it up again, who knows. But one thing that I do plan on doing, and that is going to be building stairs. Now, I can build these out of foam, but I think this year, to make it a fun architectural piece, is actually to build it out of wood. So I've got some base wood and some balsa wood, and that's going to be another section of this series of building additional architectural details. Think about doing maybe a raised walkway up at the top section with snow and things around it. Maybe like a kind of a boardwalk feel, but we'll see. Might do that down the township too. Still debating. Alright, so with the majority of this done, I'm going to go ahead and get those edges painted. And now I am absolutely not worried too much about the edges, because it's just, make sure the color is covered. Also, you can see where I lifted up this section of foam. Where it's not going to be seen, I'm not going to waste the paint. We're going to go ahead and keep that just the original pink XPS. Now the section up top where you see the green, that will also be covered by a piece already. What I'm working on here is a piece that is absolutely visible from the front and where the stairs are going to be, so definitely need to make sure that's all covered. Well, there it is. The platform is completely painted black, so now I'm going to let it dry, and then we'll come back and do some more painting. Hi, villaging friends. It's been a few days since I've had an opportunity to work on the Holiday Hills platform. I had to take down Halloween and put Christmas up in its place, so now I can finally start working back on this. Today, I'm going to start working on rock texturing on several different places on this platform. To accomplish this, I'm going to be using acrylic paints from Michaels. This is going to be white, tan, and gray. Let's get started! It really does help to hit record when I started painting. Fortunately, I forgot to do so. So I've already done, or started actually, the top back corner. And all this is just a sponge method, and right now I'm only working with the gray paint. The other colors will come back later, and I'll be doing a texturing over top, blending at that time. So right now, it's just a quick, put some paint on the sponge, make sure it's not too heavy, and then start dabbing and applying. Now I'll be applying the gray paint everywhere that I want to have a rock facade. Starting on the back left, and then the next tier down, and then the final tier down at the bottom, and of course the edge along the very front of the platform as well. Now, when doing this, there's no right way or wrong way. It's all about how much paint you want to be on the foam. So take your time, enjoy doing the process if you take this method up, and see your results. Highly recommend, if you do have the opportunity, get a test piece of foam and play with this to see how you like it. Moving over to the center section, I'll start working on this platform piece up here. And just going around. Now, the base platform that I have painted black, if I'm getting some paint on that, I'm really not concerned at all. That's going to be painted white here shortly anyway, so it'll get covered up. Now, the trick is with this platform, because I have it kind of interlocking, is pulling it apart so I can lift up and paint. This will keep me from getting paint all over my bench. Now, this section, I've been debating on what I want to do with it. Starting with the top part, I'm definitely going to do a rock facade, but the lower part, I had a recent conversation with the admin of one of the Facebook groups that I'm in about doing rock facade here, but she had recommended doing the ice facade that I have for my little showpiece that I do when I'm reimagining pieces. And I'm like, that's not a bad idea at all. After all, my whole intent for this particular area is a snowball fight, so it might as well be on some icy flats. Now, going back over here, I'm going to go ahead and knock out doing some of the edge work on the very bottom. I'll allow this to dry, and then we can start moving on towards the next part of this, of painting some ice hills. The ice hills are going to have 3 different colors. We're going to be starting with a very light blue, and I'm going to cover a vast majority of the black, if not all of it, with this. If some of the black comes through, you know what, that's okay. It's going to have a little bit of depth to it and be a little bit more fun. So again, I'm just using a sponge with this because there are so many crevices in this foam. This section of foam is recycled foam, and I didn't really clean up the edges when I put it in because I wanted it to be kind of fun and rough and have a bit of chaos to the texture. Now, surprisingly, this doesn't use nearly as much paint as you think it would. I'm actually just using a single little tube of blue paint that I have used on multiple different projects, and it's making a really good coat. Now, I had learned a very valuable lesson with this paint in the past, especially when it comes to the pink or purple XPS foam. You need that black base coat. The paint is very light, so that purple kind of just bleeds through, or pink, it bleeds through on you. So you can definitely get it covered, but it may take 3 or 4 coats to get it done, whereas this should only take 1. With this almost done, I'm going to allow it to dry once I've got all the paint where I want it, and then I'm going to start working on snow ground covering for this platform. For the snow ground covering, I'm going to be using a white paint from Michaels. This is an acrylic paint, and I meant to get a matte finish, but instead I got a satin finish, which actually is going to work out just fine. If anything, snow reflects a lot of light, and this is actually going to play very well with a bunch of the lighted accessories that I'll be using. There will be additional ground covering or artificial snow that will go over top of this as well to build up and add texture. But first, we need to get all that black painted white. Now, I am going to be taking a sponge over top of this just to kind of even it out, make sure any excess runs or brush strokes from the foam are just leveled out so I don't have any pooling of paint. And this process is actually going really well and pretty quick overall. Now, working with the edge pieces, I will be coming back and using an actual bristle brush for this, because I don't want to get any white onto my icy flats or any of the other areas. Now, there are going to be times I'm going to get white on the rock itself. I know it's coming. And you know what? That's okay, because it's going to add just a little bit of snow on the rock. And after all, there was going to be white onto the rock facade anyway. So if I have a glob here or there, then, well, it's just a little bit of called snow on the rock. The section I'm painting now, I technically don't have to paint because another piece is going to be sitting directly over top of it. But I have some ideas in the future where I might be changing up this platform a little bit. Not so much for this year, but next year. I tried to use a platform at least for 2 seasons before I, tear it down and build something new. Now, just working over here, just going to be repainting all of this. I will have to go back over all of the texturing that was done in part 2 of this series with a pencil, and then repaint black, and then paint the proper colors. I don't know what I was thinking when I started painting all that white. And even though this is part 3 of this series of painting this platform, this is only going to be painted about 90%. Later on, I'm going to be taking the buildings and putting them back in their place and sinking them into the foam. So there's going to be more foam carving involved with this. At which point, then I'll go back and touch up the freshly carved foam with the appropriate paint. That'll be an excellent time to redo those architectural details. This is actually starting to turn out really well. Now, something I didn't take into account that you can kind of see is the marker that I used when I was originally mapping things out in part 1 of this. Part 2 has bled through the paint, so I'll have to fix that in the future. With the white mostly done, I'm going to allow that to dry and then move back to adding painted texture. Alright, so now the fun and really creative part. I'm going to be adding texture to these painted surfaces. Starting with the icy hills, I'm going to mimic what I have already done for my little showpiece for my re-envisioned pieces. So this starts off with a dark blue, then I'm going to be going around and just kind of dabbing in and working it in and around with the sponge. This is going to be done on the sides and the top and all around this particular section. This is actually one of my favorite things to do when building a platform because there's no right way, there's no wrong way, and this is just doing to what appeals to you. The more I'm adding, the more you can see where this is going to be going with this particular style. So now I'm working on the white paint, going back in, adding some blue to give it that nice icy feel. If you or someone you know has done an ice scene and painted something similar to this, I would love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments, or if there's a link to another video, share the link. I would love to see it. It's always fun to see what one person does compared to another person, so you can kind of formulate your own idea and move from there. Let's move over to working on the rock texture. So I've already got the white that I was using on the icy hills. Now I'm going to be taking some of that same white on that same sponge and working it around the rock facade. I also have some tan paint that I'll be blending in as well. Now these rocks, they don't have to be perfect. In fact, I kind of want some of the black to be coming through. These aren't the actual focal points at all for this village. It's just a fun, accentuating piece. What I want to be the center of attention is going to be the buildings themselves and the lighted accessories that go with it. One of the best things about adding texture like this is it's so much fun, and it's actually a really fast process because it's not a full coat coverage and it's doing it to what feels comfortable to your eye. As I'm looking at this and working on it, I'm realizing, oh, I completely forgot to paint some snow ground cover over here, so let's fix that real fast. Just around this one little platform. I can't wait for what's coming for that. You're going to love it. And last but not least, going around with a paintbrush to knock out the black to shore up the edges. Hey villaging friends, this completes part 3 of building Holiday Hills. Now this is not completely painted yet. Part 4 is electrical, where I'm going to be putting the buildings back into place and then sinking them into the foam. There'll be channels underneath each of the buildings as power stations. And because I got to cut the foam again, I'm going to paint the architectural detail that we outlined in step 2 of this process. So until next time, see you soon. Thank you for watching part 3 of building Holiday Hills platform painting. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more, and don't forget to check out some of my other parts of this series. And also check out some of my re-envisionings for Halloween and Christmas. Until next time, keep villaging!